Total energies in the Group C match between Mamelodi Sundowns as well as MC Alger. All joined by the head coach of MC Alger, Coach Rulani Mokwena. Coach, thank you for your time. A result that did not go your way. If you could just kindly summarize today's fixture for us, please.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. First and foremost, let's congratulate the opposition, Mamelodi Sundowns, for making it to the next stages of the competition. And commiserations to our group, our players on the result. I think over 90 minutes, in most moments, we suffered a lot more than we had planned. And yeah, the first goal was always going to be very, very important in the first 15 minutes. When we discussed the timeline of the game, we knew that the first 15 minutes was very, very important for us to survive and try to not even keep it 0-0, but try to see if we can't get the first goal. That didn't happen. And then after that, you are chasing and you have to open up a little bit. You are caught on transition. And Sundowns is got the quality to be able to keep the ball and control the game. And after that, when they put the ball in the pocket, is very difficult to come back. But okay, I want to say I'm very proud of the players because I don't think at any moment I felt the sign or the feeling that they had given up. And that makes me very, very proud, even though the game was very, very difficult. But we didn't get knocked out today. If you review our participation in the Champions League, we maybe let it go when we were away in Rwanda and conceding first and making it 1-1, and then in the last 10, 15 minutes, 12 minutes of the game to lose it 2-1 away from home. When you have the point in the Champions League, away from home is very, very important. And then at home, I think we had a lot of chances against Sundowns, a lot of chances. And it's important in the Champions League once again to win your home matches, and then we take a point when we could have taken 3, and that would have made a big difference. And Lupopo in Congo, we 0-0 with the last few minutes, and we concede a penalty that we could have done a little bit better. And even though sometimes when I review the game, I don't know how much of a penalty that would have been or should have been. But yeah, you review the situation, you review how we've done in the Champions League this season, and I don't think, and we spoke about this, I don't think this was the game that we got us knocked out of the group stages.
Thank you very much, Coach. Colleagues, your opportunity to ask questions. Your name as well as your publication, please. By show of hands, okay. There's a question at the back there.
Bonjour, ça va? Alhamdulillah. Yeah, you're gonna need a translator, so I don't lose everything in translation. Oh, easier, perfect.
Est-ce que cette défaite va remettre en cause un peu votre avenir avec le Mondial? Parce que j'ai bien l'impression que l'objectif c'était de se qualifier en finale. Là, vous êtes éliminé dès le premier tour. Est-ce que ça va fragiliser votre place?
So, it's asking if this defeat is really gonna damage your stay in Mamelodi, since the goal was to reach the semi-final.
I don't know. That's up to the club. I'm focused on what's left of the remaining of the season. That's a question that's not within my control now.
Thank you, Coach. Any other questions? There's one here in the front, please.
Sure, Coach. Thank you, sir.
Coach, looking at this game, I saw that obviously there's a lot at stake because of both teams want to qualify to the next round and all that.
Yeah.
But you know that something that I'm noticing is a trend in African football is that there tends to be a lot of clashes and violence that happens within the game that ends up spoiling the game. Looking at your team today, did emotions perhaps get the better of them at times to perhaps even make the results not go in your favor?
Which moments?
The moment of like tension in between the two players, because the game stopped a few times because of
I don't.
certain things happening, even from the bench as well. We saw that there were back and forths with both teams. You lost your temper like a
No,
few
I don't
times
want
as
to
well.
talk about. I don't want to talk about the things off the pitch, because if Rulani walks across to the opposition technical area, and you also it is live on TV. If Rulani walks to the opposition technical area, believe me, I know how many people would have made a huge hullabaloo about that situation. The laws of the game prohibit any technical member to leave his technical area and move across, go past the fourth official and move across to the technical team of the other team. If that is not a clear sign of not only disrespect for the opposition and the opposition technical staff, it's a clear violation of not even CAF rules but FIFA rules. Is clear, and therefore this has nothing to do with me. No, that's not my conduct. It's not a reflection on me. That's not that question you should be asking to the person who left his technical area to go to the other technical area, and you have to find out the reasons why that person did that and provoked, because it's a clear provocation. No, so what is the aim of that? And I don't think you saw me moving towards that and being involved in the handbags. No, no. Today you cannot say Rulani was misbehaving. It's impossible. It's impossible.
Coach.
No, it's impossible. And I knew you would want to say that. So sometimes I was just sitting down, nice and drinking water.
Thank you, Coach.
Okay.
Question, Maskepe.
From
Sure, Maskepe.
just two quick ones. Coach.
Yes.
You said you knew you guys were gonna suffer.
Yeah.
I think there were two different approaches from Sunrise. I think one when the game started, where they had the midfield of Tebza and there was Tebza before Allende.
Yes.
When Allende came,
Yeah.
came on, there was also a Tambazwane also
Yeah.
which also created,
Yeah.
having more passing lanes in their attack.
Yeah.
So when did you suffer most? Before or after this changes?
No,
And also, so
yeah,
the second
sorry.
one is on yourself. I mean, you went to Wydad, they had a challenge with signing players that you tried to make the team today.
Yeah.
So you want now at Mamelodi as well,
Yeah.
again starting to sign players that you want to sign players. But about yourself at these two teams, how would you say you have this situation has forced you to go? In what direction or in what way has these two situations forced you to grow in terms of your approach, how you play?
That's fantastic questions. The first is tactical, and I love tactical questions. Maybe it's because I get information from the opposition now. And that's why I'm able to answer tactical questions. But when you make a deep analysis of Sundowns' team, and then of course because I spent 3 years with most of the players, I know maybe even a little bit more than I should in relation to the individual characteristics and also how some of them deal with certain situations. So for an example, when Ronwen gets the ball from the left to the right, I think I know a little bit better what the tendencies are from the right to the left. And you could see when he made 2 or 3 distributions to Modiba, the difference in the quality and the range of the pass as opposed to when he made 2 or 3 longer range passes to Tapelo. And this is having trained the players, having lived with the players, But on top of that, the individual qualities also affect not just from reactions and left foot, right foot, connections with the passes. Maybe the connection of the pass from Tebogo to Sailor is a little bit more than the connection from Sailor to to the inside to connect with Tapelo. And I'm talking in relation to units. But overall, then there's a team profile, and if you look, and we go as far back. For an example, if you look at Sundowns versus Al Ahly here at Loftus, you look at Sundowns versus Pyramids here at Loftus, you look at Orlando Pirates versus Sundowns here at Loftus, and then also, of course, the game of Hilal, which was a little bit more different. There are a couple of very, very interesting standard tendencies or traits that you pick up. And a lot of that has to do with the positioning of the fullbacks. And when you see when, for an example, when Mudiba plays with Tashrik, it's a completely different dynamic than when Mudiba plays with Kutlwano. So Mudiba inverts a little bit more when Kutlwano is on the pitch, and Kutlwano takes maximum wing play on the touchline to try to get 1v1 situations. That then also influences how many players they are able to push onto the last line, and whether or not they play with two strikers or with one. Like today, they played with Leon and Sales, hovering around as the number 10, and even in some moments going beyond the line of Jaden Adams, and even Tebogo Mokwena, who played a little bit in the second line today, which was quite interesting because Adams was more responsible for the first phase of the build-up to connect and try to connect a little bit more with the passes, and it became a bit difficult for us to jump from one line to the next, especially because Sales would pin Zugrana. And when it's difficult for Zugrana to jump onto Adams, we struggled a little bit because then one of our centre backs had to be a little bit more courageous to jump onto Sales. But then Sales would then look to escape beyond the line of Adams, which means go past Zugrana, and try to connect even from the centre backs. It happened once or twice in the first half. And then you have to try to find the solutions for that, because the solutions mean that you have to try to overload the overload. The problem is Tashrik now is in the pocket. And when Tashrik is in the pocket and he now becomes the second striker, you have a lot of different dynamics on the left-hand side as compared to the right-hand side, where it's a double wide with Sela and Tapelo. And Sela plays like an orthodox fullback. So the right-hand side, the dynamic is easy to control. Winger, fullback versus winger and fullback. In that situation is a little bit easy. Unless if they escape the pressure from the left-hand side and they come to Tebogo and he switches, or it goes back to Ronwen without pressure and he switches the play, because you had to commit the winger Osama inside to try to create the overload, so they don't have possibilities to have extra players and find central penetrations. It becomes very, very difficult to be able to then jump and press closer to the touchline. So those were the dynamics that caused us to suffer a lot more in the first half. The second half was completely different because, and then when they introduced Peter and they introduced Mshishi, there's a clear chemistry there. Mshishi is not a Sales that roams maybe 150% only in the central corridor. Mshishi jumps horizontally across the pitch. He finds the space behind the midfield line, but also in between the lines from a horizontal perspective. So behind the winger and creating 2v1s aggressively on your fullback. Behind the central midfielders like Reda couldn't pick him up, and then he creates 2v1s. If you go one-on-one with the centre backs, you have a lot of possibilities to find Mshishi free. And then that type of chemistry allowed us, or unfortunately, we suffered only from how do we then control Mudiba. And you could see once we jumped into the midfield with a winger, Mudiba was free, and that caused the second goal. If you analyze, and I haven't seen it yet, but from my naked eye, I can already see what the build-up was on that situation. And we couldn't find Mudiba, and Mudiba made the extra run, arrived in the final third, and then put the ball into the box, and we couldn't pick him up because of this dynamic with Tambazwan. But okay, if I speak about the tactics now, it's a little bit too late in relation to the game, and I have to analyze it also and see how accurate I am with my observations, because this is just from the naked eye. your second question, yeah, this is not just a problem for, and I hope the Algerian football officials maybe allow us to come in for a debrief at the end of the season, as technical people involved in the game, because the 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 results continentally should be a bit of a worry, not just this season, but overall for the last couple of years. And if you look, and when I talk not only at club level but also at international level, AFCON and the likes, and generally the teams that do well on the continent generally have a very, very strong league, and the Algerian league is quite strong. To go to Al Bayad is very complicated. There's a lot of physicalities. There's some very, very good players with very good backgrounds of having played. Al Bahoul, for an example, and Constantine is a player that can play in Europe at any level. There's some players at MC Oran. You see the level of some of those players is incredible. But there are a lot of prohibiting challenges and factors that allow the league to be stronger, so that the teams are stronger, and the teams that are stronger then are able to produce players for the national team, and that makes the teams a little bit stronger. And if you look, most of the players, apart from one or two in the AFCON, are always overseas-based players, and that doesn't always mean you have the strongest team. And you check, you go for an example, even to the team of Morocco, and to the team of okay, apart from Egypt, we have quite a few local based players. But where the challenges come is for me, number one, is the size of the squad. It's impossible to have a 22-man squad with the number of games and the amount of traveling, and to be limited only to 22 players plus 5 younger players. And you see, I don't play the younger players because of injuries or because of anything like that. I play the kids. We've played more of the under 23 players than any other team. But we play the kids because also we are limited with the options in relation to the squad size. So when injuries happen and fatigue and the accumulation of games comes into play, you have a few challenges. Then there is a cap with regards to the salaries that you can pay certain players, and so when you want and also you are limited only to 4 foreign players, and on top of that you are also limited to 4 foreign players that are younger than 28, 29, 30. There's an age limit to that. So you, for an example, in the last window, there were 2 or 3 very good international players with very good competitive experience in the Champions League and in winning in Europe and playing, but we couldn't bring them into the team because all these things were prohibiting us to try to recruit some of the best players. And then you think on the African continent, and maybe even in the Algerian league, with a strong exodus of young players into the European market. Normally players between the age of 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, their first options is to go to Europe and not to stay on the African continent. And some of the best players who you should be targeting, who are saying, okay, I've played now in Europe, I've experienced what it is like, I've ticked some of my goals in the boxes. Now I should be going maybe back home or find a different challenge in a big club like Mamelodi to compete for the league, to compete for and have a different experience. It becomes very, very difficult because the players you are trying to target are actually now a little bit more ambitious to try to move to a different market. And maybe the ones who still in a very good space at 30, 31, 32, who you can bring in with good experience, with a competitive edge. These type of players, it becomes very, very difficult because of the laws, the rules of the league. So it's not just us. You see it also with JSK who are struggling in the Champions League, and many factors contribute to this. But maybe this is something that we have to sit down and when I provide my report at the end of the season, is something that I can share with the authorities of the Algerian league and try to see whether or not, for the sake of the Algerian league and I think when I come to the country, I become a part of the football leagues and I become a part of the culture and the club and I want to see Mouloudia do well and I want to see Algerian football do well. So this is in no way, well, number one, coming up with excuses, and number two, condemning the Algerian Football Association and the structures. But I think for the growth and the development of the game, where there is incredible potential, Skepe, you must go and see. And even in our youth team, there are some incredible. There's a kid now, Hadrouh. I think you will see him a little bit more coming up. The boy excites me. Left foot, right foot, accelerating and eating up space. And these kids are very, very gifted. Buholda, you saw his quality. He was in Europe. You saw his quality when he came on in the second half. And Osama is 24 years old, but incredible football player with the left foot, ability to play on the right, on the left, in the central corridors. So it is a country that has incredible potential, but that potential needs to make a step up and a jump, and I think generally the environment has to be a bit more conducive to pushing these players to fulfill their potential by maybe making a couple of adaptations to some of but okay, we focus now on finishing our season, try to do the best that we can now to finish strong in the league. We're in the quarterfinal of the cup, and inshallah we still can make it an incredible season.
Thank you very much, Coach. Colleagues, unfortunately, we are
Yes.
out of time. Coach Rulani, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks. It was great to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach.
See you soon.